So, Horse, we're all here gathered to speak about the question of liberation. Question of liberation as it relates to the Black liberation struggle within the U.S., as well as a global struggle against imperialist occupying forces. More specifically, we're talking about the Israeli occupying force within Palestine, and to sort of like I want to sort of set the foundation for exactly what it is that we're talking about and what do we exactly mean by liberation. So I'm going to pose this first question to our panelists here. So when we talk about national liberation and the struggle for black liberation, what do these terms mean on paper and in practice as they relate to our organizing? So we'll take about maybe two, maybe three answers from the panelists, and we'll move on from there. Whoever wants to go first, can go ahead.
I'll go ahead and take it on. So, when we talk about national liberation, it's because we understand that.
Speak up a little bit.
Okay, sorry, y'all. So, national liberation refers to the fight to liberate our nations, right? Like, so that's what it means. We understand that, for example, black people in the U.S. constitute a nation. I'm not sure if folks here are familiar with the Black Belt thesis. Raise your hand if not. If you're not familiar. Okay, you guys have some reading to do. It's a very interesting theory. So when we talk about national liberation, it's the understanding that we're facing oppression on multiple reasons, right? So it's like we have the class oppression, we have the subjugation of working people because we are workers, but we also have the subjugation of certain nations and people because of the nations they come from. This exists for black people in the US, but also Palestinians as well. I'm going to wrap it up there and see if any other panelist wants to add.
Yeah, thank you, Sada. That's a great grounding. I'll speak a little bit more to the Palestinian struggle, like for national liberation, and what that means a little bit more. And we understand that the struggle for Palestinian national liberation is a struggle against settler colonialism and the imperialist forces of the world, which you mentioned in your intro. And that's because we understand Zionism as a violent settler colonial ideology. And it's one of the few remaining foreign settler colonial occupations in the world. And it has a goal of creating a pure ethnic colony. So when we speak about Palestinian national liberation, we must understand that there's an emphasis on the complete liberation of the land, right? From the river to the sea is a very literal. It has a very literal meaning, right? And that's our stated goal. You asked what the stated goal on paper is, and in practice, what that looks like is we begin by, our objective is to liberate the land, but we begin by liberating our people, right? So that looks like building national consciousness and institutions for our communities. It looks like engaging in joint struggle, like we are in this panel right here. It looks like legitimizing and setting the discourse around Palestinian liberation. But yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to the idea of black liberation. We talk a lot about that just because the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression is rooted in the black liberation movement. A little bit of the history is it was originally founded in 1973 and came out of the movement to free Angela Davis and all political prisoners. We knew back then the black liberation movement was facing severe repression, FBI repression from the state, and that's still the case today. So it was refounded in 2019. We fight for community control of the police, freedom for political prisoners, and why we focus on police repression is to create the organizing space so that we can make the democratic demands of black liberation. And when we're talking about black liberation, we are talking about moving from a justified rage and rebellion to liberation, which is a program of struggle. We're talking about land, we're talking about resources, we're talking about healthcare, relief for the homeless, unemployed, people facing evictions, all of those things that box in black people in this country. We're talking about mass incarceration and the penal slavery system, and voting rights and all of that. So it's about, creating a future where Black people have the right to self-determination, and to decide how we want to, um, you know, create a community for all of us. So.
Yeah, I really want to expand on the term of self-determination. And so, what this means for both and all people fighting for liberation is the ability to determine what you learn and what you are supposed to do with the knowledge that you learn. Because we know here in the U.S. that our history, what we're taught in schools, what our kids are taught, and even what we're taught in college, where we're supposed to be more of free thinkers, it's very limited. It doesn't show the true history of what happened, and that's on purpose. It's to keep us from being awake to what our potential is. And so, what our potential is unlimited, but it is because of what we learn, um, because Black history is being erased from schools as we speak, with the diversity, equity, and inclusion boards being erased. These are boards that were fought for by Chicano people and Black people to get history and the correct history taught in schools, and they're being pulled out from under our feet as we speak here in Texas and where I'm from in Florida. And so not knowing your history is a big part of not being able to liberate yourself and your people, because we know that the Palestinian liberation is so clouded from misinformation, where where a lot of people don't even realize that Zionism comes and stems from the neo-colonial, or the movement to colonize Africa. It comes from the late 1800s. It's not something that was invented recently. It is an idea that has been around and has been clouded, and so now people are misusing and misunderstanding the term Zionism and not using it for what it actually means, which is colonialism, which is to ethnic cleansing, which is to completely wipe out. And so we must understand our history, and we must be able to have our kids and everybody around us be able to access the correct history.